welcome Lena to the stage. Oh, it's supposed to be a lightning talk. However, I've been informed that she's going to take a little bit longer because this is such a really important and sensitive topic. Is that correct?
Yeah, I will talk a bit about psychological introduction before I get into the meat of the presentation. So
before you get into meat, okay. Lena, have fun.
Thank you. Okay, so hello and welcome. My name is Lena. I'm trained as a psychologist and brief solution-focused therapist. So I worked in the field of therapy. I worked as a journalist, copywriter, blah, blah, blah. Fun fact, I also was a dental assistant in some point of my career. And 2 years ago, I got into IT. I'm a fan of F1. So if there are fans of Max Verstappen here, I'm also a fan of him. And I'm a highly sensitive person. And this is also why I wanted to introduce this topic, because I finally find my space in coding, and I really like coding, but it seems that the organization part, so communicating with people I work with, it's a bit of a nightmare. If you want to find me, you can find me on LinkedIn. So, okay, so agenda is short. I will talk in first part who highly sensitive people are, and then I will talk about survival guide, so how I'm trying to do my best to survive in this non-sensitive world, and what other people can do to help me survive or strive. Okay, so who are we? There is an acronym, DAS, which describes main traits of highly sensitive person and its depth of processing, overstimulation, which is higher than on average, emotional reactivity, again higher than average, and being sensitive, not like we're crying on these romantic comedies, although it sometimes happens, but it's more about sensory processing and being overwhelmed. I will explain it in a minute. But before, some facts important for this presentation. So around 30% of high sensitive people are extroverts. So being introvert is not equal to being highly sensitive person. And also it's around 15 to 20 up to even 30% of society who are highly sensitive. But still it's difficult to draw conclusions about how it really is, because mostly we learn about highly sensitive people if they need help, if they feel that they don't fit into society and they want to solve out what's wrong with them. So, depth of processing. Imagine that you think in this way that this function works. By the way, if you find any bugs, please tell me later. I'm still learning. So, a typical highly sensitive person would think this way. It's a bit more to process. So we get like more data into our decision, which sometimes helps because, well, we can make more informed decision and help others make more informed decisions and so on. But sometimes it's bad because we can stick to the details when it's unnecessary, but also we can feel overflown by data and be completely paralyzed. So it has pros, it has cons. You can read later. Emotional reactivity. In general, highly sensitive people react more with their neurons to even images of happy or sad people than average people in sensitivity. And it's partly to the fact that our mirror neurons work more intensively. And sometimes it's good because we use emotions and imagination, A, to solve problems, and B, to learn more efficiently. But still, empathy can kill. And it's really difficult for me, for example, to be here in this room, to see you all, sense somehow your emotions, that you're interested or not. I'm soaking all of this, yeah, and I can feel it. Maybe it's not like paralyzing me, but still it's a bit overwhelming. So if I don't react to this, I mean, somehow manage my emotions, I wouldn't be able to stand here. The other thing is being sensitive. So If you imagine you have a computer and you see whole processes or the processes that are on server, you have these funny programs that you can put your rule sets in and draw your attention to the most important processes. So imagine highly sensitive people don't have such rule set. They just go through all the processes. It's also difficult because, for example, our mind, in general, people's mind, is set to ignore many stimuli, like you don't think about on what sort of chair you're sitting right now. Or you're not thinking that someone might be going and taking some food. You're not hearing it, probably. It's just a part of this white, it's called funny, white noise, thank you very much. And you just ignore it. Highly sensitive people don't ignore it. It's just like getting all the processes and trying to, get to them, try to transform them into the data. And what happens then? Overstimulation. So it's like DDoS. You get DDoS every day. And sometimes you survive it, but more often you need time to put your servers up again. So this is about highly sensitive people. And what about highly sensitive programmers? I decided to give this talk because, as I said, I started my career in IT 2 years ago, but I went through many different areas before, and actually I faced the same problems. I made this presentation based on IT experience, but still, I was looking for the place which would be different. Sorry, every place is the same, and I face every time the same problems. So I stick to programming, but still, it would be helpful to get a helpful hand. So, starting from the recruitment process, high-sensitive people are often more stressed because we're in an assessment situation, come on. And we often tend to less believe in ourselves. So this, at the very beginning of the process of working, impairs our skills and make us less likely to get a good job. There's also research, probably by Lena, but I don't remember well which researcher did that, but it's proved that highly sensitive people quite often work on the positions that are lower than their abilities, because then he can't squeeze into this recruitment code and work code. It's just hard for them to play according to the rules that other people don't have problems to play. So from perspective of highly sensitive person, yes, we can work on stress management and concentrating on our strength. We do it every day, probably. But we would be happy to get a bit less stressful environment. And I have one story about recruitment. I got this information that I will have first a talk with manager and then the technical talk. Yeah, it was nice, but when this talk with manager came, it turned out that both talks are together, not separate. And it got me so stressed that I couldn't proceed because, well, we agreed for something and now you're changing. So it would be helpful if people would be true to their words or at least informed that something changed. And also a space for warm-up. When we are in a new environment, all stimuli are new, so we are more stressed. If someone helps us ease this effect, learn more about the environment, about the person I'm talking to, I could perform better. Recruitment tip number 2. Highly sensitive people need more time to give answers or need to clarify things, not because of lack of knowledge, but because they have more knowledge and they need specific data to give specific answer. So it's like finding a lot of scenarios and not knowing which scenario would fit in this certain situation to this certain recruitment question. And also highly sensitive people may have problems with ABCD tests. It's just normal. We don't squeeze that easily in society, so the testing situation is difficult. So yes, we can learn, and we do learn, how to pass recruitment tests, this whole dance of recruitment, but it would be nice if we have, for example, chance to choose. If we can do, I don't know, write an application or do the test. or let it be a real-life scenario. So not a theoretical thing that we're not never going to do in our new job, but something that really happens in a company. This would be nice. Okay, onboarding. We need good onboarding, please. We need to understand. Of course, it's nice to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, but highly sensitive people really need that. So we use the strategy, if we have courage, of asking questions, as long as we get the information we need. But I think that onboarding plan can have a mentor, or well-described resources, or at least plan. Not something like, okay, so read the Slack and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay, I can read, but still. When we finally get into the job, finally, if we manage, good planning and predictability is crucial for us, because change of plans generates that our depth of processing is generating a lot of scenarios, what may go wrong, what may go right, what we will need. It's overwhelming. So yes, we learn to adapt to changes as much as possible, and we learn to plan our own, just the piece of the work that we're supposed to do. We learn to communicate, but still, we need other people to work on planning and communication. Because even if we find the courage to say something, someone needs to hear it. And one important remark about Agile. This is one of the biggest things I learned in IT. Chaos is not equal Agile. So chaos is lack of planning. Don't mix this thing. Okay, work interactions. There are two nightmares of highly sensitive people. It's hierarchy and micromanagement. Hierarchy because, well, our minds are more wired to the idea that all of us are equal, just because. So we learn how to squeeze into hierarchy so that we have manager and we need to tell him what we did last day or last week and how the task is going and what troubles we have and what not. And we learn to say what we have to say, what we should say, not what we want to say, which is called diplomacy. But it would be also nice if others learn to concentrate on the message, not the fact that we question status quo. Different aspects of it. For example, do we need daily? I mean, yes, I can spend some time on the meeting that should last 5 minutes and last 30 minutes, but it really makes me angry because I feel it's a complete waste of my time. I really can write on Slack, hey, come on, I did this, I'm working on this. 2 minutes of my life and less stress. But yeah, it's also a part of micromanagement, so some people just need it, I don't. Okay, other thing with work interactions, highly sensitive people may seem to be moody, withdrawn, troublesome, nagging. Okay, it's all about overstimulation. So when it's too much, we really need to manage it. So this is our task, to learn how to manage overstimulation, to find the time at the day, I don't know, to take a nap or take a walk or whatnot. But also it would be nice if others pay a bit more attention to the fact that all of us have different social and environmental needs. So, I don't know, maybe hybrid or remote work would be good for us, better. I also, when I was a therapist, I had this air conditioning case. So I had a highly sensitive patient, and she was sitting in the open space in a desk that was like straight from air conditioning. So this cold air was getting to her. And she was asking her coworkers whether she can switch it off or make it a bit, the temperature a bit higher. And they were looking at her like an alien. Okay, finally she found the courage during the course of therapy to move her desk to a different place. And the people were still surprised. What's going on? Why she did that? Yeah, they didn't understand. She took care of her needs, but it was like something strange for them. For her, it was something normal. Okay, then offboarding. We need well-planned offboarding that gives closure. if we, somehow it happens, finish cooperation with this company, we need to close this somehow. I mean, not like, okay, you're fired, you're not working from tomorrow, and nothing happens. Just formalities sometimes. So, yes, we learn how to give ourselves positive feedback and closure, or accept the fact that we are not getting a closure. But it would be nice if others learn how to treat people humanly, not as a slave. Like the slave has come, died, or went away, escaped, whatever, the other will come. Okay, final thoughts. Because it may feel like we're sort of a special people to be treated special. I don't think so. I think it's mostly about admitting, A, that people can work in their own rhythm and be effective. B, that people have different sensitivity, and this is normal. Some like louder music, some like more silent music. It's also about admitting that people have different needs, and it's normal, and that people deserve chance no matter what skin color, gender identity, health state, or nervous system properties are. So why the talk then? Because lack of this approach closes a lot of opportunities for highly sensitive people and highly sensitive programmers as well. If we need to face the whole system that we need to learn before we start working, it might be much more difficult to get through to our first job or second job or whatever, and it may be a huge blocker. It might be too overwhelming to pursue our dreams. So yeah, I suffered from it. I don't like it. So as every neurodivergent person who struggle not only with extraordinary life events, but also with everyday life, I wanted to say it out loud. So I'm happy that you listen. And yes, we learn how to live in not highly sensitive society, but the price is high, and it shouldn't be. Highly sensitive people learn rules, but yeah, we are tired to play according them. If you give us more space, we can flourish and help your organization grow, but just give it to us. If you're a Polish reader, you can read my blog. I'm writing a bit about IT, but for now mostly about being a highly sensitive person. And if you want to check if you're a highly sensitive person, you can check the website of Elaine Aron, first researcher who checked this trait very deeply, researched very deeply. The test is the second link, and there is a third thing, because I said that there are introverts and extroverts among highly sensitive people, but there are also sensation seekers. That's why I'm here today, because I'm extrovert and sensation seeker, so yeah. So you can check it here.
Well, Lena, thank you for that. I just have news for you. That's why I'm here too. I'm a sensation seeker, and in fact, an extremely highly sensitive person. So I felt you were speaking about my life. Wow. Am I really an extrovert? I appear to be relatively extroverted and comfortable, right? Everything is fine. Well, I have news for you folks. Everything she said is true, and I have a very strong feeling. How many of you felt that you had some of the traits that she was describing? Right. And there you go. And this is my, but just in closing, because I've been told there's no time for questions, I deal with this topic every day. When it comes to our communication, please, folks, maybe this is why I've been put in this exact position on this stage. The technology that we are building and developing is having the effect that sometimes people need to interact less with each other, and they are also withdrawing. And when I don't have the need to interact with other people, think about the fact that our systems then perhaps lose the desire. So we are actually programming ourselves with these tools that we're developing, and please understand that communication, real communication between people, meeting people, interacting with people cannot be replaced by any tool that we build. The humanity, in terms of understanding that, I made this statement before, believe it or not, every person in this room is suffering from some form of trauma. If you approach the situation understanding that people have been faced with war, they've been faced with very, very hard and shocking circumstances, maybe during childhood, maybe as an adult, we understand that we can't become insensitive to that. So I'm not a programmer, I'm a person who programs. I'm not a speaker, I'm a person who gives speeches. So the humanity of it is the reason why we meet, the reason why we need community, and the reason why we interact. And I really appreciated that topic. I think it applies to everyone. Give Lena one more big hand, please. Thank you so much. Thank you.